What is Munchausen syndrome by proxy? And why do we need to know about the disease when talking about if it's okay for children to transition?
We don't. What's up, rebels? My name is Willie. I am one half of Leo and Willie. I am queer. Yeah. And today, I am here to talk to you about the offensive T, who from this point on will be known as the offensive T. For those of you who do not know him, how lucky are you? I am so jealous. He came up with my recommended YouTubes like a while ago. Obviously my partner is trans, I'm queer, so algorithms be algorithm, right? He comes up in my recommendations, I see the title, and honestly, I thought the offensive T was this ironic name. We know what we be doing. We be taking things that other people say about us, and we own them. We make them our titles. It's how we own our histories, how we own our pain. Yeah, you used to say this in a derogatory way, and I raise you a well-rounded human being who can laugh at those comments, right? So I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be super funny, charismatic, hilarious.
I was wrong. I was so wrong.
Not a single laugh, not even a pity chuckle, not even a none. No laugh. Some of you who've never watched these videos will instantly think that I have this very binary opinion on trans or queer people who have more conservative viewpoints. That is not the truth. I can agree to disagree with certain people. I can also accept the fact that even if I heavily agree with someone's opinion, I am still very much objectively aware of the fact that people live different lives. There are social reasons, there are systematic reasons, but mainly there are anecdotal reasons that align and create people's viewpoints. And so I've lived my life, hence my viewpoints. He's lived his, hence his viewpoint. So like I said, this is not I disagree with him, so I think he's awful. This is more of a clearly was not hogged enough as a child, has grown up into being an intolerable human being, has found solace in hate, enjoys perpetuating negativity, mainly because it's monetizable, he can make money from it, so basically he's a sellout. He's someone who has sold his own people out.
Gypsy got her ex-boyfriend to unalive her mother after years of abuse. The mom abused Gypsy due to Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
This video is so effed up on so many levels. For those of you who don't know me, which is all of you, a very small channel, whilst you're here, subscribe. Very much into criminology and psychology. These are subjects that get me going. So I see this guy talk about Munchausen by proxy and I'm like, okay, this is a subject matter I know very much in. And then he describes it to parents who support their kids transitioning. And I thought, okay, bitch, you're done. For those of you who don't know, MSP or FDIA, if you're in the UK actually, fictitious disorder imposed on another, is when a caregiver purposely induces or fabricates illness to the person they're taking care of. The victim is often a child and the perpetrator is often the mother. This psychological disorder is a very rare form of child abuse, but what it lacks in those numbers, it makes up for in pain and endurance. It's one of those enduring illnesses where the victim is often broken down over time to the point where they often believe that they are ill themselves. This is one of the reasons why it tends to happen in the mother-child scenario, because it's a lot easier for a child to believe their mum when they're saying they are sick, and it's a lot easier for a mum to manipulate their child. As this is such a rare psychological disorder, it isn't so much mainstream, but people do know about it through cases like Gypsy Rose, which became way more popularized after the TV series The Act. A more recent case, you could argue, would be Rudy Farias. I hope I've said the surname correctly. Rudy had gone missing for 8 years, according to his mother. She was on Facebook pages. Funnily enough, I was also on a Facebook page with Rudy's mum, and I also experienced her saying, please help my son's missing. It turns out after 8 years, Rudy's not missing. He's actually there living in a house and has been neglected the entire time. And one of the reasons why she's doing this and she's putting that out online is for attention. Often when these victims are found, they are broken beyond belief. If they didn't have illnesses before, they may have them after. It's really sad. Like, it's incredibly sad. So to see someone talk about this and compare it to parents supporting a child when they say, I do not feel this way, or I feel trapped, or this doesn't feel right. And I'm not talking, your kid says to you, hey, I don't feel like I'm a girl, or I don't feel like I'm a boy, and then you rush them to a doctor and you chop things off. That is not what happens. I do not understand why these channels continue to oversimplify a very complicated process. It's ridiculous. And you're talking to someone who in the UK has openly made a video with a trans partner saying that I do feel like the private system can be too fast. I was with there through that process with my partner, and I was like, well, this was kind of quick. And I'm not sad about it because he's himself and he's loving everything. He's amazing and he's living his best life. But I can still make an objective commentary on the fact that that system was fast. I'm not someone who blindly believes stuff. I'm not someone who blindly agrees with stuff. And I will always push forward with what I believe is right. Now let's call out this bitch.
Gypsy Rose was perfectly healthy, both physically and also mentally. But Gypsy's mom convinced the doctors that she had leukemia, so she shaved Gypsy's head all the time, muscular dystrophy, so Gypsy has been in a wheelchair since the age of 5. Gypsy decided to tell her boyfriend at the time to unalive her, and he did.
What happened to Gypsy Rose was incredibly awful, and this has nothing to do with the commentary on people who actually have been victims of MSP. Gypsy Rose endured a very hard life at the hands of her own mother.
Hearing about Gypsy Rose's case made me think of other cases where I personally believe we're talking about Munchausen syndrome by proxy. But nobody's talking about it. The media is not talking about it. And yes, I'm of course talking about trans children.
Why is it in quotations, you trans knobhead?
It's impossible for a kid to be trans.
This is what he believes. He believes that, once you get older and you can physically transition, you are therefore classified as the right type of trans person. Any child who socially transitioned as a kid, be it using their chosen name, clothes, whatever gender affirming thing they could do at that time, were apparently victims of MSP. What I find so interesting about that is, who was he when he was a kid? I'm just trying to understand, who were you when you were a kid? Were you a young girl who then turned into an adult boy? I'm just so fucking confused about what your terminology means. When did you only turn trans the moment your final surgery was done? Because by your own ideology, you need to go through a certain amount of things to be considered trans. So when did you become trans? Was it your final surgery? Did you get your trans certificate then? You absolute trans knobhead.
Situations, the children did not get the idea from TikTok, from the trans community. They got the idea that they're trans from their parents, especially their mothers.
Gather round, there's a new conspiracy. Mums are turning their kids trans. I wonder if there's like a Facebook group. When you think of mums, you think of Facebook groups, like local mummies turning kids trans. So that's what you think is happening right now. They see their child, they go, fancy a girl instead, or fancy a boy instead, and they're like, hey, baby boy, you are not who you think you are. Do you actually think that's happening? Do you believe your own hype, or do you just chat shit for no reason? Because that's the bit that I cannot F with you. Everyone else, I have so many people that I disagree with that are within your circle of group of friends. But even in some of those cases, I believe they believe what they're saying. And that's where I at least go, okay, I don't agree with this, but it seems like they've come to this conclusion through their own life, through their own belief systems. And so what can I say if I haven't lived through that? But when you literally make up bullshit like this, like mums are turning their kids trans, are you in these mothers' houses? Where have you got this information from? Where are your facts? This guy will pick up one or two videos that he'll find online, and he will literally base his entire opinion on 2 videos.
These moms will see their boys, let's say, wear a dress, maybe once or maybe twice, and then they think, oh, that means he's a girl. So that's my mission, to make him into a girl. Make him believe that he's a girl. These moms love to be on TV, put their children on display in order to get attention.
Oh my gosh, just say you want Jazz. You are so obsessed with her already. You are literally talking about Jazz. You have a playlist dedicated to Jazz. If you love her that much, just slide into her DMs and stop wasting everyone's time.
Do people ever wonder if you're too young to know if you're trans?
Yeah, and are they too young to know that they're cis?
Period, king.
This dialogue right here is about the mom trying to prove that she didn't convince her child that they're trans. She's under the impression that what we just saw proves the girl actually knows that she's trans and wants to transition. She knows what the consequences are and she's fine with it.
I will be honest about something. I clearly didn't do enough research about the offensive tea because I didn't actually know that they were also a mind reader.
My opinion is she was testing her child. If the cameras were turned off, she would say, do you remember what we talked about when people ask you, aren't you too young to know? You remember the answer?
Do you remember? Do you remember actually being in the room to have this knowledge to then put it up on YouTube, chatting so much? Do you?
What the 2 different types of moms also have in common is how they're always overly prepared when going to the doctor's office. They always make sure to know everything about the illness, and some are even obsessed with the illness. Sounds familiar.
Oh, I know he didn't. He's like, sounds familiar. Yeah, some people are obsessed.
The reason why people transition and are transsexuals is due to a mental disorder, but it doesn't change the fact about how obsessed these moms are with the trans identity.
So these parents are apparently making their kids being trans their entire identity, but your literal YouTube is called The Offensive Tea. Cool.
I'm not trying to diagnose anyone with any disorder, because I'm not a psychiatrist.
Oh, we know. No one was sitting here going, oh, is he a psychiatrist? Nobody, nothing that you've said has made us think that. You don't even need to confirm that. The reason you are confirming that is because you have a very specific pattern. It's very shock factor, and then the disclaimer comes at the end. People who care about people's mental health, people who care about people just in general, they tend to put the trigger warning in the beginning. You do it right at the end because you want your audience there, and then right at the end when you're like, oh, by the way, I'm not this, I'm not that. That's your safety blanket. That's your home base. And I don't know if you guys have it over there. In the UK, we have a game called HAD, or Home, for example, sorry, and you'll tap someone and you'll have to run home. That's like you say, and then you run home and you're like, this is my safety point, where I say, I'm not a psychiatrist, by the way. Also, I'm not diagnosing someone after making, what was it, a 10-minute video, just chatting complete and utter shite. If you are watching his video and you're thinking, this guy's making some good points, just remember.
Don't believe everything that you see.